So something's happening with the Nintendo Switch 2 that I knew exactly would happen when we started to get some of the details about the, I would say, hype or the excitement with the Nintendo Switch 2 in specific regions. Now, don't get me wrong here, guys. There are some issues, which we've talked about multiple times with the Mario Kart situation, maybe even some of the accessories going up in price and certain things. But overall, the hype for the Nintendo Switch 2 is hitting a fever pitch as Nintendo starts to roll out advertisements, get pre-orders going down in different places. It is looking incredibly good for Nintendo Switch 2 starting out. Now, of course, sustained success is something different altogether, but I honestly feel, based off of what Nintendo has shown, this is the strongest they've ever launched a system, and we're going to break it down and discuss the new information on that, in addition to a bunch of other awesome Nintendo Switch 2 information. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first topic here, guys. We're starting off with the French retailer. I don't know how to say it. Is it FNAC or it's FNAC? So sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, or however you're supposed to pronounce it. And they have stated that the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware sales are at a historic levels, and it's been great for accessories and other things. So let's talk about this, because this plays into what I've been saying. I've been having a lot of people tell me, you're just shilling, you're just fanboying, it's not going to do as well, Wii U levels, GameCube, like all this nonsense that we all know that's not true. But let's talk about this. So, French retailer FNAC, I'm just going to call him FNAC, has talked about how popular the Nintendo Switch 2 has been since it's been available for pre-order. Hardware sales are apparently at, quote, historic levels, and sales have been extremely good for various accessories such as the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller and the Nintendo Switch 2 camera for game chat. Here are some of the highlights from this. Hardware sales at historic levels. Stock situation is good, but could get tense in June. Higher average spent by user, closer to core gamers than Nintendo's more mainstream audience. And I want to talk about that in just a bit. Price won't be an issue for that demographic. Accessories at a very high level of sales, especially the camera. The Mario Kart bundle is extremely popular because obviously you save, at least here in the US, you save about 30 bucks off of the price for Mario Kart if you get it in that bundle. Software sales lagging behind, but should ramp up closer to launch. So software sales, there's not a bunch of other like big brand new titles. People obviously are just going to play Mario Kart at the launch. So I can understand why that might be a little bit of an issue, because there isn't like a ton of stuff that would appeal to the hardcore fans at first with it. You know, Cyberpunk and stuff. Some of that's old. So I get that too. Now, 12 midnight launch events planned in Paris and other cities. And it's just something that I talked about before when it comes down to how Nintendo is rolling out this system, what they're actually doing with the system. For right now, when it comes down to it, this is for the core gamer. This is for the hardcore gamer that's ready to drop down any amount to be able to play the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, listen, guys, the price is up there. 100% understand that. Overall, if you're thinking about it, it's been 8 years since the original Nintendo Switch 1, the launch of that system. We've known for multiple years now, there's been rumors dating back to 2021, 2022 of Nintendo Switch 2 coming, or some type of extra system. I think that there are millions of gamers who've been putting away a little bit every single month, and essentially came to the conclusion of like, hey, look, it's here now. Here's the money to buy whatever I want to buy for this. This is Nintendo finally getting into more of the modern age of what they're doing. I talked about this before in previous videos. Maybe if I can find it, I'll put a link for you guys in the description, where the Nintendo Switch 1 was essentially the genesis of what they're trying to do. They used the best chip that they could at the time that they could to get what they needed to get some of the games they can get. But now at this point, they actually decided to go in and actually have a system that's obviously not as strong as a PlayStation 5 or a PS5 Pro or Xbox Series X, but for a hybrid device, being above the Steam Deck by a good bit and supporting so many cool different features and different things like VRR for the screen, full 1080p overall, you have HDR, you have all these different things. That's super exciting for a lot of the Nintendo fans, where we would get a first party game and there'd be problems with the frame rate, or we'd get certain third party games, there'd be issues there. It seems like with this system, that is not the case. That is not the case, and we're getting big games launching with 120 frames per second, potentially with Mario Kart, or easily locked 60. We're getting Donkey Kong completely locked, 60. We're getting games launching at 120 frames, like with the Fast Fusion game, and we're getting even more from different developers. They're porting over third-party games. So it's a very different vibe and feel from before, and a lot of the core fans are super excited. So that's why you're seeing some of this historic levels. Now, that also plays a part into the stock situation, which I've talked about, how Nintendo has absolutely been stockpiling, and they're going to have significantly more units than the Nintendo Switch 1. So while yes, it's probably going to be a little bit tense in terms of hardware and being able to get one because there's so many Nintendo Switch 1 fans out there, they're going to sell significantly more units they did now at this point than they did back in the Switch 1. So there's going to be a lot more, but the demand is a lot higher now at this point than it was before. But the demand for you guys to become subscribers is also very high. So if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop, because we're dropping tons of videos before the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, and we'll have a full pre-order live stream going down on Wednesday as well. So you're absolutely going to want to be here ready to rock for that. Now, let's go ahead and let's jump into the next topic here. We're going to talk about something that got me, I wouldn't say into some hot water on Twitter, but got a lot of Xbox and PlayStation fans making excuses, making all sorts of stuff. And I wouldn't even say the fans of that, just people that is probably more like dislike Nintendo so much or whatever. I don't really know what it was, but you can't say anything when it comes to a controller because of the price or because of whatever. You can't say anything against people's already set beliefs or conclusions about other things. And what I'm talking about here is the situation with the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and what the upgrades are with this controller. Now, I talked about it on Twitter, and like I said, I had a very interesting post that people quote tweeted me for forever on that. But essentially I said, hey, look, this Pro controller, it is going up in price. Like, I don't like the price of it going up, guys. I don't ever like prices going up. I'm not here to defend or say Nintendo should raise prices on stuff. I'm with you guys as the consumer. Never like prices going up. But I also look at what you're getting for the price. And it's been revealed now that the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller has a 40-hour battery life. That is the same as the Switch 1 Pro controller, and it has more features built in. It has the new HD Rumble 2. It has the back paddles as well. It has the new, obviously, C button on there. So it's a better controller. It's got better quality and durability from the hands-on gameplay that people have talked about. And check this out. The charge time for the controller is cut in half. So the battery life stays the same, but the charge life is cut in half. It takes 6 hours to charge the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller. It takes only 3 hours to charge the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and has approximately 40 hours of battery life. Now, that might go down a bit based off of what game you're playing and how much the haptics are, but as someone who's played a ton of Nintendo Switch 1 with various different Pro controllers, special editions, that Pro controller does last about 40 hours, even if you're playing a game that's heavy on the haptics and like the HD Rumble and stuff like that. So the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller looks to be even better overall. Plus, you have the smooth gliding sticks. Like I said, back paddles, smooth gliding sticks. You've got the HD Rumble 2 built in there. You got the NFC built in there. You still have the gyro controls. You got everything that you know and love from the first controller, and it's even better. So what kind of got me into a little bit with people online is that I said it's kind of like an elite controller because the back paddles, right? The back paddles for Microsoft and Sony, if you want those, you have to pay for their elite controllers, like the DualSense, whatever, right? Edge or whatever the case is. That's a $200 controller. And yes, there's more customization. Don't get me wrong. It's more advanced, but the battery life in that controller is still pretty terrible overall. 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe on a good day when it comes down to it. They didn't improve the battery life. You know, it's pretty much the same, and the price goes up. Same thing with the Xbox Elite controller. That controller doesn't even have like motion controls or haptics, has all the customization. So when I pointed that out in terms of the price of the controller, I'm like, well, you get some of these features like back paddles, right? Or like haptics or HD Rumble, whatever. You get some awesome features for the price. Some people got mad at that, but I still think I'm going to stand on what I said. The controller is really good. It's definitely pricey. They had to move the price up. The tariff situation that's going on, but I still feel that it's a great controller. Once again, don't like to see prices go up, but the controller for what you're getting for 40 hours of battery life compared to how much you have to pay for the more premium controllers or even the base controllers that only last like what, 6-7 hours with the PlayStation 5 DualSense, maybe 10-20 hours with the Xbox controller. I think that uses AA batteries, so it depends on maybe what AA batteries you're using, or if you buy a play and charge kit, I think that's about 20 hours maybe. So the fact that you're getting significantly more on the charge on top of getting some great features like haptics and all that, plus the back paddles, styles. To me, it's kind of like an in-between, like an Elite controller and not. Obviously not as basic as an Xbox controller, and has some of the features that you would have to pay for Microsoft's and Sony's more expensive or pricier Elite controllers. So that's where I came from overall with it. I know it doesn't have everything with the customization and swapping of the parts, but from what I understand, once again, these buttons, the smooth gliding sticks, hopefully the D-pad holds up. Obviously the buttons on the top, the shoulder button, all of that feels great to play from the Nintendo Switch 1. I think that this is going to be a great controller, especially with that 40 hours of time. So very, very good. And it looks like potentially it's lighter. Either way, it's a great controller. It's sturdy. It's got a great build, and I'm looking forward to getting one. Hopefully I can get one. I think I'll be able to get one. I was able to get the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller. Those were $70 at launch too, so those weren't cheap either overall. The HD Rumble and all that built into it. But what do you guys think about the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, and of course the price as well? Let me know in the comment section. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next topic here, guys. Let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077, because there are some issues here with Digital Foundry, and maybe I'll make a separate video on this, but I wanted to just include it in this video. Maybe we'll talk about it in a live stream or something else. But Digital Foundry seemed to have been wrong on their analysis when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077 and the situation with DLSS. But apparently, Cyberpunk 2077 will be the first game to take advantage of DLSS. Now, the thing about this DLSS, for those who don't know, deep learning super sampling, essentially can take a crustier image, like a 540p image, and kind of use AI upscaling, not the bad AI, good AI, machine AI, to make the image look like a 1080p image. So it's pretty good, right? And that lessens the load on the CPU to where you can get better frame rate out of it. So it was said by Digital Foundry when they did their initial eye test analysis and all that without press feed that, hey, look, it's not using DLSS from what we can see and all that. But the problem was they didn't wait for the actual press feed. They were just going off of the eye test, which can be unreliable. And I think not at this point, Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, the developers, they actually came out and told Digital Foundry, oh no, we are using DLSS in all modes. Here's what they had to say exactly, straight from CD Projekt Red. Quote, we're using a version of DLSS available for Nintendo Switch 2 hardware powered by NVIDIA's Tensor cores. The game utilizes DLSS in all 4 modes in handheld and docked, and the performance and quality variations of each. So very interesting to see that, right? If it's docked, obviously you have the fan, you run at a higher clock speed. The type of DLSS is going to be a bit different, or manipulate from there compared to if you're playing in portable mode. You got the VRR screen, you got different type of things. The clock speed is lower, battery life comes into play. So I think that's pretty cool. DLSS is going to be a great feature if developers can utilize it correctly for the games. And we don't know what version of DLSS this is going to be. Like, it could be various different versions, or it could be a custom version built specifically for the Nintendo Switch, or more like modified for the Nintendo Switch. So we'll have to wait and see on that. It's a custom chip. We know that. It's a custom chip. Obviously, they stated that it's 10 times stronger than the Nintendo Switch 1. They've talked about NVIDIA G-Sync, the VRR. There's different stuff to help out with this that could help future-proof the Nintendo Switch 2 once more powerful systems do come out. But I do think that if you're looking at it from a pure hybrid, for the price that you're paying, right, we're getting the first game to use DLSS. This is definitely a good thing. This is a positive thing that we're seeing here with the Nintendo Switch 2, and I fully expect more developers to take advantage of DLSS on the Nintendo Switch 2 so they can be able to make the games run at acceptable frame rates, because we've all been there with one of the big third-party games that come out on the Nintendo Switch 1. You put it into your system, either there's a download or something like that, which is like whatever, but you play the game and there's issues, right? There's very few of the major impossible ports where there weren't some things here and there. Now, there are some that are incredible, don't get me wrong. There are some that are really good overall, but there's definitely issues. With DLSS, it's going to help that significantly, but it's also going to be based off of the talent and the development of the team and what they decide to do. But it is a positive thing to see, because remember, Cyberpunk 2077 is a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. To see DLSS already being utilized in this type of way in all modes, some people felt maybe it was only going to be docked mode because of the fan and how you need to be hooked up or something like that, but no. In portable mode, all different types of modes, you're going to have it in various forms. So that's definitely a very, very good thing to see. Now, there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and it's just briefly. Fire Emblem Engage music has been added to the Nintendo music section. So if you have not heard the soundtrack for Fire Emblem Engage, I just wanted to put that in there. It's not big enough to really do a full segment on or anything, but I would say this. Fire Emblem is coming. Boys and girls, not only did we get Fire Emblem Engage added to Nintendo Music, but Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones is available for Nintendo Switch Online members as well. So you can go rock out to some incredible Fire Emblem Engage music and play some Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones. Man, I'm telling you guys, Nintendo's getting ready. There's going to be that announcement. They're starting to drop the Fire Emblem stuff. It's been quiet on that front, but I definitely think Fire Emblem will be announced within the next year or so. I think it has to be this year at some point. But anyway, Fire Emblem Engage music, Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones. Go check that stuff out, guys. It's available there for you guys on the respective platforms. So that's going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out all my Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG content right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.